With that, let's bring in our panel. Benjamin Backer is president and founder of American Conservation Coalition, and Isaac Wright is partner at Forward Solutions Strategy Group. Gentlemen, great to have you.
Good to be here.
Great to be here.
Is part of this feud between President Trump and Speaker Pelosi trying to hold off her left flank, which is calling for impeachment, Isaac?
No, I think it's being methodical and appropriate about the process. There are 6 ongoing investigations. Those investigations need to run their course and conclude, and all the evidence need to be considered before decisions are made about impeachment or not. Conversations of impeachment right now seem premature until all the investigations have finished. The Trump administration is stonewalling, turning over evidence for these investigations. Let's figure out what it is they're even trying to cover up before we move any further down that course.
We heard Speaker Pelosi use a new word this week, cover-up, which seemed to get under the president's skin, but she did not provide the proof. Is that language, Benjamin, designed to appease her most liberal members?
I think it is, and if you look at the electorate, you look at the independent voters, they don't want impeachment. Only 19% of independent voters believe that impeachment is correct. This type of rhetoric has pushed the Democratic Party further and further to the left, and it really has shown that the gridlock in Washington is a problem, but it's mostly in rhetoric. And pushing this idea that Trump is impeachable at this point is turning off most Americans from the Democratic Party and Nancy Pelosi.
Part of Speaker Pelosi's apprehension about impeachment proceedings is the impact on some of her members from those swing districts, which gave Democrats the majority. Is there a risk of Democrats overreaching, Isaac?
Well, I think before we answer that, I want to correct one thing on Ben's point about the premise that cover-up is unwarranted. Let's remember that there are people who've already gone to jail for lying as part of the cover-up in the Trump administration. Tell those people serving prison sentences or otherwise indicted and found guilty or having pled guilty to lying to the law enforcement about their role in the cover-up. I don't think they would say that's premature to use that word. They're now serving out the consequences for those things. And as far as how it affects Democratic politics, look, I think Democrats are united. We want to get to the bottom of this. We want to know what the president did or didn't do and what it warrants and those actions and activities. Obviously, there are things in the Mueller report that are still coming out beyond AG Barr's redactions of it. So let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get to the facts. Let's continue the investigations. Let them run their course without the impediments from the administration trying to block evidence from being made public.
But is there a risk of Speaker Pelosi losing her job if a lot of her most vocal members are demanding impeachment proceedings? Benjamin.
Well, it just seems like every time the Democrats get what they want, which is like the Mueller report being published, they get something that they want, then they go to something else because they haven't had enough information to really go forward with whatever they hope confirms their worst possible scenarios with the president. But if you watch the news and you just follow politics and you look at the rhetoric, you think that nothing in Washington is going on in the positive light. But actually, Congress is working on a lot of great bipartisan pieces of legislation like Save Our Seas Act, the Public Lands Package, on the environmental issues that I care about, and we don't talk about that. And the Democratic Party is moving further to the left on these national scale issues, while most people are in the middle, and the people in the middle don't think that there's enough evidence to punish Trump for impeachment.
Despite
this is where Ben and I would agree. I think there are some good things coming out of Washington right now, and I think mainstream America, I think people in the middle will appreciate the fact the U.S. House, the Democratic-controlled U.S. House, with the leadership of Democrats, passed the largest overhaul this week in more than a decade to retirement savings to help people who are part-time earners save for retirement, to help middle-income folks save to later in years to pay for their retirement. I think there's great things coming out of the Democratic-controlled House right now.
But let me push back on that for a moment. Let me push back on that for a moment because I covered Capitol Hill and there was barely any talk about that because it was all about impeachment and investigation. Are you at risk of drowning out your own positive developments?
I don't think Democrats are the ones who are pushing the media storyline right now on impeachment. If you notice, the House caucus meeting that was on to even discuss that in the investigations was a closed meeting. I think we should be looking at the media to talk more about those accomplishments and what's going on, and not just about the scramble for the political fallout over questions that are going to come down the road.
Now, you mentioned legislative accomplishment. The Senate passed a $19.1 billion disaster relief bill. Is that a sign that our elected leaders can slug it out and get some important things done, Isaac?
I hope so. It was held up in the House by one single Republican from Texas, Chip Roy. Hopefully they will have that revote again on Tuesday and be able to finish it in the House as well without Republican Chip Roy's objection and move forward with it. I think that $19.1 billion relief package is important, and that's a great sign. Republicans in the U.S. Senate stood up to President Trump and said, you've got to drop your opposition to this. You've got to drop your holdout on it, and we've got to get things. We've got to get relief to Central Texas farmers. We've got to get relief to those people impacted by floods, by hurricanes. And we saw progress there when Republicans in the U.S. Senate were willing to stand up to Trump. And I think we can see more of that, hopefully, in the future if we pray for our president and our administration.
Is it possible, Benjamin, that this White House meeting blew up between the president and Democrats because the president heard from Majority Leader McConnell and other Republicans they had little to no appetite for a $2 trillion infrastructure package?
I think that's a big part of it, but honestly, if you look at the national political landscape and you look at the hot-button issues that we all disagree upon, it seems like, climate change, immigration, those are the ones that we seem to not be able to come together on in a bipartisan way because it doesn't fit the rhetoric that both parties want to push. But when you're talking about this retirement bill or this disaster relief bill, it's things that people are coming together on, but it isn't popular to talk about in the media or on the campaign trail. I think what it takes are leaders like Nancy Pelosi and the president to say, okay, maybe most Americans actually do want us to work together on infrastructure or climate change or immigration, and maybe we should try to look at compromises and bipartisan opportunities because they're happening on issues that just aren't hot button, but they can happen.
Benjamin Backer, Isaac Wright, gentlemen, many thanks. Arthel?
Thank you.
All right, Mike, thank you. Thanks, guys. We'll